I am in a 2012 Volkswagen Passat SE, and it's basically the same trim level as Luke's car. He has a little bit more going on with his car. You know, he's got the sunroof and just a few things like that, but this does have Bluetooth and touchscreen, and they're both stick shifts, which is awesome. So, going on to the exterior. I think the exterior on this car is, I would call it bold, really. It's a lot of sharp lines, but I don't know, it's not in your face. It's streamlined, I guess, but also not. It's kind of a boring exterior, if I'm quite honest. So, I mean, it does have the nice 17-inch alloys, which are great. And it does have a few pretty stylistic features, but overall, styling on the outside is eh. Moving on to the drive of the car, the powertrain, and everything like that. So the powertrain is okay. I think it has a little more low-end torque than Luke's Ford. It has 175 horsepower, but it does weigh more, which, I mean, you can definitely tell. Now, in all fairness, I did add a ram air intake to my engine, so that did definitely increase my high-end power. The low-end power, not so much. I mean, there's really nothing you can do without a turbocharger, because it's just doesn't have it there. You know, there's nothing to mess with, really. So you can't do a whole lot. I think I added all of 8 horsepower to my engine, which is barely noticeable, but whatever. I think it sounds a lot better. But we're sticking with stock. So the transmission is awesome. It's a little bit of a longer throw than I'd like. Shifting in a fifth is kind of a hassle. But it's not really meant for speed. It's not meant for flying down back roads. It's meant for cruising. It's meant for long distance trips. I took this out to, Luke and I actually took this out to Wyoming, and it was amazing. I mean, we had Luke in the back making sandwiches, and it was really nice ride. I mean, and the seats are great. You never got sore, so it's a great cruising car. It's not necessarily a flying down a back road, you know, going through turns type car. It will do it. It's just not very fun. It leans like that, and so, you know, if you want to freak out your friends, you go real fast around a turn, it'll definitely do it. It grips like hell, but you'll lean. So now, moving on to the interior of the car. The interior, well, I like it a lot. The word I would use to describe the interior of this car is elegant. It's nothing crazy, it's nothing special, but it's just very well done with the analog clock and just simple lines, nothing too edgy and crazy. And then it's got a nice big touchscreen. It's got a good feeling wheel. I like the feel of it. And as I said before, the seats in it are just great. I mean, they're firm with plenty of support, and you just don't get sore in these seats. We actually had a 14-hour day of driving, and neither of us had any complaints. The back seats, tons of room. It's kind of absurd. I mean, you can have the passenger seat fully reclined back. Obviously, I don't need that. Or fully slid back. And they still have room to sit. I call this car a poor man's A6. It's not quite as pretty. It's not quite as well done. But you still have that awesome German engineering feel to it. Everything feels solid. Everything feels good. Doesn't feel like it's going to break pretty much ever. Now, the feel of this car, let's give it a little feel of this car. So, you can go fast, like I said, and we're going to try that right now. And when you do go fast, it's calm, it's collective, it's nice, you know? It's not jumping around the road like some of my friends' cars do when you really push it. But like I said, it's meant for this. It's meant for cruising down a scenic back road and just relaxing. So the feeling of it, I would really say it lacks. It doesn't feel like it wants to push you. It doesn't give me much of any feeling. I would compare it to your accountant. So your accountant is dependable. He's a real good guy. He's nice. And he does all your work in a timely fashion. But on a Friday night, are you going to call your accountant up to go to a bar or to go to a party with you? Probably not, just because he's not that fun of a guy. That's what I would compare this car to, which is unfortunate. I wish they would give it a little more. You just got to call it personality. But as far as my choice goes compared to Luke's choice, in our situations, what we're doing is we are commuting. We're commuting to school, or commuting to work. And for that, 75% of the time, I'm going to want something like this that's just going to be quiet and smooth, and it won't bark and yell, and it's just nice. A couple things that really piss me off about this car: there's no rear vents for the air conditioning or heating. So I'll be up here and I'll be chilly from the AC, and the people in the back are like, "Can you turn up the AC? It's hot back here." And I can't, because it's already cold for me. So that pisses me off. A few little things I love: you close the trunk, it's just solid sound. You close the door, it's a solid German engineering thump. That's about it.
So hello again, viewers, it's Luke, and I am in my 2012 Ford Focus Titanium. This bad boy is fully loaded, got my 18-inch alloys, 5-speed manual, and all the goodies: leather seats, navigation, 10-speaker audio, all the stuff that Jack and his Passat don't have. But enough of that, let's get going on this review. So I'm going to start with the exterior of this car pretty much, just going to kick that off. So, I mean, in the past, Focus never looked that good. I mean, had no styling cues, kind of just looked like the engineers that made it, the designers, didn't really care about what they were doing. It was cheap, chintzy, loud, underpowered, just a pretty crappy car. The exterior, it looks great. It looks so much better than the old car. It looks purposeful. There's actual design cues. And starting off with the front, I think the thing that catches me the most is the front fascia. The front fascia looks awesome. There's these really cool black contrast vents and air intakes underneath the grille, underneath the Ford badge. And what's really unique about those is that they actually have active aero. And what that does is when the engine needs air, the vents will open up and the engine will get its air, so that way it can do cooling and whatnot. But when the engine doesn't need more cooling, the vents will actually shut off, so that way you get a better drag coefficient. And we all know that means better fuel economy, and in this day and age, fuel economy is the big thing. Everyone wants more fuel economy, so therefore you have that cool way to increase it. And then moving on to the side of the car, I mean, I really like the way the lines carry on from the front headlights to the rear headlights, and I really like how the roof line isn't too high. It slopes backwards a little bit as you move down in the car's profile, and that really makes the car look lower than it actually is. It doesn't look like a box on wheels, which is a problem that a lot of hatchbacks have. They look kind of boxy, not that great. And I mean, this car looks a lot more purposeful. The other thing that's really striking about this car are the 18-inch alloy wheels, which are insane looking. I mean, the stock titanium comes with 17-inch alloys, but the 18s just really make it pop. And they're also wrapped in 18-inch, obviously, all-season high-performance tires. They're Coopers, and they grip like mad, which I'll get into that later. Focusing now on performance, I mean, this car is powered by a 2-liter Duratec engine. It's a new rendition of an engine that's been in the Focus for a while, but this new rendition puts out 160 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque, which is pretty respectable. I mean, a lot of cars in this segment are putting out 130, 140, and I mean, that's pretty adequate, but 160, you can definitely tell that this car has enough power to kind of compete with like almost a mid-size market. It kind of feels a bit above the rest in terms of that. One thing though is that this engine doesn't have a lot of low-end torque. Torque doesn't kick in until at least 2,500 RPM. You have to give the car a bit more gas than you would in some more high-powered cars to get it going, but I think that's to be expected with a 4-cylinder. Other than that, always feels like you have plenty of power. When you get above $3,000, this engine comes alive. That's where you get into the power band. There's plenty of power there, and it's a lot of fun. But I mean, in addition to that, this car has the 5-speed manual, which is key. One thing that both Jack's car and my car share are the manuals. Both of them are 5 speeds. And with the Focus, I think it's more important to note that. It's more important to note the fact that we have a 5-speed, because the 6-speed power shift automatic that they put in the Focus is terrible. What it is it's an automated manual, which means they've done away with the torque converter that you have in a normal automatic. So it's basically a automatically shifted manual. And the problem with that is it's super, super jerky. There's been tons of complaints about the car just being way too jerky, and people don't really like the fact that it's jerky, because with an automatic transmission, you expect smoothness, you expect it to do everything for you, and the power shift, it feels like it's being driven by an amateur manual driver. You have jerky shifts and whatnot, and it's also been proven unreliable. The programming and transmission hasn't been very good. So, I mean, that's a huge problem. They've had to extend the warranty on the transmission, yada, yada, yada. Not something you want to get involved with, trust me. Get the 5-speed. It's an amazing transmission. The shifts are super crisp. It's really easy to figure out where each gear is. They slot nicely. The throws are nice and short. And the whole gear shift itself feels really high quality. It doesn't, like, feel notchy or just cheap. It has a really high quality feel to it, which is something I love. And the clutch itself, it's pretty short travel. You don't have to feel like you're pushing through the firewall to disengage. But I mean, it's a lot of fun to drive it. The engagement point is really easy to find. And once you're at the engagement point, there's a lot of play there. So it's really easy to get a good launch if you know what you're doing. And another thing I'm going to tie into is the driving experience of this car. It's amazing. I mean, this car has electrically boosted power steering, which most people would be like, whoa, 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 that's a big red flag. Not good feedback, doesn't have good road feel. That's not the case here. This power steering system is really well calibrated. The steering weight is really, really nice. It's not too light. A lot of the times they'll have the steering calibrated super light, and you won't get any feedback, you won't have any feel, and it'll feel like you're turning a dial on the radio knob, and that's not what you want from steering. You want to know what your car's doing. You want to be able to turn the car and have a lot of confidence that the car is going to go where you point it. In this car, you have tons of confidence. The feedback is great. You can actually feel the little vibrations from the road. It's like you're running your hand along the surface of the road. You get all that feeling through the steering wheel. And the other thing that really helps aid it is that this car has torque vectoring, which is really key, because in a front-wheel drive car, they're more prone to understeer. And with torque vectoring, it kind of eliminates understeer, helps get rid of torque steer. It makes the car a lot better to drive. And that's really key, because this car, I mean, it handles like a sports car. You put together the peppy engine, the really, really sweet 5-speed manual, and then this awesome steering rack, great calibration, and the Cooper tires, and it's just a ball in the corners. It grips like nothing else. You cannot get this car to let go. I've gone so fast, and this thing just handles great. Never been a problem. So let's move on to the interior of this car. I think that's something that really needs to be pointed out with this car. This interior is phenomenal. I mean, think about it. Most small cars have kind of crummy interiors, lots of hard plastics, not a lot of features, feels kind of tinny. This thing has really high quality materials. Dashboard, all soft touch. I can push on it with my finger and it's nice and pliable, really, really good. And the overall build of the interior is really nice too. There's not a lot of squeaks and rattles like you would expect from a small car like this. And the overall design is really nice because what they've done is they've designed the dashboard so that way it feels like the whole thing is kind of cocooning you in your little position. Your driving position feels really, really nice because the whole dashboard kind of curves in towards you. It's raised up high so you feel like you're lower than you actually are. Granted, this is a low car, but the dashboard only makes it feel a whole lot lower than it actually is. And I mean, the color contrast in here is awesome. I mean, I have a black dashboard, I have black leather seats. This car has the leather package, which makes the seats super comfortable, looks super premium. It's real leather, it's not the fake crap that's in Jack's Passat. I mean, like, who the hell wants fake leather? You buy a car with leather, you want the real deal. You want the skinned cow on your seat. That's what you're paying for. So, I mean, this car really delivers. You have tons of bolstering in the seats because when you're flying through corners going double the speed limit in this car, which you might do, not saying I do that, but you know it's gonna happen. And I mean, these seats will hold you in place. And with the contrast stitching, they look awesome. And I mean, the biggest thing with this interior, which really makes it stand out to me, is the amount of technology that's available. For a Ford Focus, the fact that you have Bluetooth, 10-speaker, 500-watt Sony audio system with a subwoofer, navigation, satellite radio. I have like controls all over the steering wheel I can't even fathom. There's a 4-inch display in between the speedo that tells me distance to empty, fuel economy, and it also has Ford Eco Mode, which basically tells me how economical I'm driving. It like grows leaves on a tree, so basically if you drive like an asshole, it's going to guilt trip you into driving nicer, and it works, trust me. I like cry a little every time I lose a leaf. It's an emotional experience which I struggle to deal with. The interior is not without its faults. While it may look really nice, there are some problems. I mean, the navigation system on this car, it isn't very intuitive. The navigation system is very hard to program. I mean, you can either do it through voice controls or you can manually type it in when the car is stationary. Key word there, stationary. You can't do it when the car is in motion. But the biggest problem is the fact that it's laggy. If you try to type it in manually, it takes a couple seconds to register each input, which means if you have a long destination to type in, you're not going to be able to do it very quickly. And if you're late to school or to a doctor's appointment or to work, it's going to be very frustrating. And you may think one way to remedy that is to, I'll pull the voice control trigger on the steering wheel and just say my destination, have it enter itself. But that doesn't always work. And the main reason for that is the voice control is super, super finicky. Only when it comes to navigation. When it comes to making a phone call, it's super, super easy. You just say, hey, I'm going to call mom, say mom or whatever, and it will automatically dial your mom. Yes, it's not lightning quick. There's a lot of systems out there nowadays that are a lot quicker, but I mean, this car is a 4-year-old car. It's a 2012. Sync 3 is a big improvement, and this thing's totally usable. The layout itself is pretty nice. It's easy to figure out what you want to access. I mean, radio controls, phone controls. You can even get your climate controls up here. It's all pretty easy to figure out, especially if you were like a millennial like I am. I guess at the end of the day, you have all these factors that make the car great, but that's not exactly what we're looking for. Here at Motor Minds, we want to look for what makes you connect with the car, what makes the car stand out. And that's what we like to call the car's personality. You may be thinking, what? A car's a piece of metal. It's a metal box with an engine and wheels. There's no personality here. But you could be very, very wrong. If you're an emotional person like I am, or a car guy, you create a connection with your car. A car is a friend. It's something you spend a lot of time with. It's something you bond with. You share experiences with it. And I mean, you want to have a car that feels like it's a lot of fun, like it's a lot of fun to share those experiences with. And I mean, the Focus definitely has that. Its family tree is perfect for having a fun car. I mean, you have the Focus ST, which is the guy that like goes out to the bar, gets way too drunk, and then up. And then the RS is the kid that looks like he's a partier, but he's actually a tryhard because he has like a 350 horsepower turbo engine and kicks ass. And then the titanium kind of fits in that tree because it's just as much fun as the ST and the RS in terms of handling. It's a great handling car. Oh, I love the shifts in this thing. The difference between this car and the Passat is this car has soul. This car, it has a personality to it. It's exciting. It wants to have fun. The Passat doesn't want to have fun. It's just like a piece of 8x11 paper. It's just kind of there. There's no emotion to it. This car, it's like a sketch that you would draw of like a fighter jet like shooting down like an enemy plane. It has like, oh, that was like an analogy. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But I guess the point I'm trying to make, this car has a boatload of personality. Super fun. It's super connected. The car's working with me. I have all the feedback I need. It's just awesome. You know what? I mean, if you're in the small car market, don't look anywhere else. Get a Focus. Before you say anything about me being a dangerous driver, obviously I'm a pro driver. We discussed that in another video, how I'm like top 4 racing drivers in the world. I mean, it's like Michael Schumacher, Louis Hamilton, and then I'm right there, number 3. Oh my God. Sorry guys, I can't hide my whoa! Yeah! Got some air! Oh my God, I love this car. Oh, sorry for like flipping out a little, but holy shit, this is fun. Oh my God. Well, thanks for watching, viewers. Hope this gets you convinced that you should tune in for more Murder Minds. I'll see you guys next video.